In a world of M5s becoming faster, fatter, heavier and uglier, I thought I'd get myself back in one of these to really understand the essence of the M5, and I don't think you can really have a true M5 experience unless you've driven one of these. And ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the E39 M5. And people say the F90 M5 was the last proper M5, and I'll sort of agree to an extent because there's no electricity going on. But for me, the E39 M5 was peak M5 for many reasons. Number one, its V8 engine, the first ever M5 to accommodate a V8 engine, a very famous engine as well, which sounds beautiful. And the other reason is this thing in my left hand here, a good old school manual gearbox, which was the only option for this car. No DCT, no SMG, no ZF, just good old shift stick, as you Americans say, because to own an M5 in the 90s, you had to be a proper driver, not like today. And I just think this is the best looking M5 as well. It's aged so well, all thanks to Joji Nagashima. And I think that man designed one of the most timeless BMWs ever made. In my opinion, this is one of the most beautifully understated cars ever made. Right, so in front of me, producing that wonderful soundtrack behind me, is BMW's S62 engine. It's a 4.9 litre naturally aspirated V8 engine, and this is as pure as it gets. No turbo, no electric. What would you call this engine? I don't know, I'd call this engine like a proper global warming engine. Yes. The S62 engine produces 400 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, and it will get you from 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. And compared to its other German rivals, the Mercedes E55 AMG and Audi S6, it produced a lot more horsepower. But the E35 M5 didn't just stand out because of its horsepower. Well, it kind of did. That was the main selling point of this car. It was the fastest production saloon car of its time, but compared to its rivals, it was the only car which offered you with a manual gearbox, and that was its only choice. But during the late 90s, BMW didn't just have Audi and Mercedes to compete with. You see, a manufacturer from Great Britain offered a car called the Jaguar XJR, another timeless classic, and that produced 370 horsepower from its 4-litre V8 supercharged engine. You see, most M5s that came after this belong on Germany's autobahn, sitting as limiter, pushing Audis out of the way. That's an M5's job. Not with this one though. This one actually belongs to the B roads of North Wales, and let me tell you why. Well, firstly, let's start with its handling. This is solely rear-wheel drive, and it's mated to a proper mechanical rear differential, so you can have nice slides. And another thing is its perfect weight distribution, 50-50. And this actually weighs quite light in terms of M5 terms, 1.7 tons. It weighs the same as the new generation M2. Where have we come to in this modern era of cars? And the other thing is its engine, the way this thing revs. Listen. Just puts a smile on your face. And when you combine it with the manual gearbox, you are not getting that feeling in any other M5. Oh, what a car. Look at me, I'm smiling. I can't get rid of the smile. And it revs to all the way 7,000 RPM. And the engine's actually very responsive as well, thanks to having individual throttle bodies. And look, yes, I am fully aware that you could get the E60 and F10 M5 with a manual transmission somewhere in the world, but not where I'm from. I think you can get them in a manual in the States. But from my perspective, the E39 M5 was the only manual M5 that I kind of know about. Yes, you got the E28 and E34, but from my perspective, this was the last analog M5. But I think this is from an era where BMW's design was at its peak. It's from the time where I call it the mafia era. They just had that death stare about them. Yes, you had the E39 M5, and one to mention is the E38 7 Series. Big fan of the 740i and 750i. But I'd love to see these cars stare in a film with Robert De Niro in a mafia-style film based in New York. I love mafia films, and I love seeing BMWs in them as well. The E39 was the first M5 to feature a V8 engine, and it was a shock to M enthusiasts at the time. The car it replaced, the E34, had a straight 6 engine, and so did the E28. But this definitely set the tone going forward. And there's always been a debate of the best M5 being between this one and the E60 M5, the one that came with the S62 V8 engine. Although I will say that engine sounds incredible. Take that engine out of that car, I don't think it would even be a question. Say that car came with a V8, the engine only makes that car, whereas this, I think this has a lot more going for it. And if I was to be honest, I prefer the sound of this too. Oh, old school V8. Now, the M5 wasn't the only E39 you can get a V8 in. You also had the 535i, which had a 3.5 litre V8. You could get the 540i, which had a 4.4 litre V8 engine. But say you wanted something more sophisticated and refined, then you could buy the Alpina B10. And depending on the spec, it gave you 2 engine choices. One came with a 4.6 litre V8, and if you went for the B10S, that gave you a 4.8 litre V8 engine. There could have been some what-if moments with this car had BMW stuck with their original plan. Now, BMW at first wanted to put the SMG gearbox in the E39 M5. They went that far and they even built test mules to even test the transmission with this engine. But I'm so glad BMW stuck to their original plan, because they wanted to deliver a proper M5 that appealed to the enthusiasts. And what a job they did. And the other what-if moment is the fact that BMW very nearly built an M5 Touring of this type. Theoretically, they did build one because they built a prototype version of this car. Would have been very cool to see that in production. However, the reason they didn't was the fact that they thought it wouldn't be very successful. And I kind of agree with them, because when you look at the E61 M5, that car wasn't very successful when compared to its E60, the saloon version. But it wasn't just these quad tailpipes and M5 badge which made this car stand out. It had wider rear arches, a bit of a lip spoiler going on here, and style 65 alloys. I mean, this car hasn't got it on, which I think is a shame. But in terms of technology, this car was ahead of its time. The E39 M5 came from a time when technology was just starting to integrate into performance cars. It featured an early navigation system, a built-in TV function, and even a car phone. All cutting edge for the early 2000s. Xenon headlights provided better visibility at night, while rain-sensing wipers added a touch of convenience. By today's standards, it's simple, but back then, these features made the M5 feel like a true luxury performance saloon car. Nowadays, most of us just get in a car, connect our phone. Well, you don't even have to do that, it connects automatically. Up comes Apple CarPlay and off you go, you've got everything in a screen. This was the 1990s version of Apple CarPlay. You had everything here. What else did you need? I mean, I prefer this because proper engineering went into making the M5 experience an unforgettable one. And it's still making it an unforgettable one 25 years on. And that's the thing with this car. I've driven a lot of M5 generations now, the F90, F10, and that beautifully sounding E60 M5. But the one that's always left me with the biggest impression is this, the E39 M5. There's just something about its balance, its analog feel, and the way it delivers the power. It makes it stand out even after all these years. And one day I'd love to be able to share to you guys, I've bought an E39 M5. And if you're in the position to buy an E39 M5, good news for you, because this one is for sale for around £21,000, which is an absolute bargain if you ask me. So if you're interested, let us know. We can get you in touch with the owner. But I'd like to say a massive thanks to Mike for letting me get behind the wheel of this beautiful E39 M5 today. And if you enjoyed, please leave a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel for more of this car content. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.